Welcome back. Time to get some wheels off this truck so that we can get a good look at what's underneath. First thing we've done, pop off the hubcap, set it aside so that we've got a place to put our lug nuts. And what we're going to do now is just break the lug nuts loose. Don't take them off, just get them loose so when we jack her up in the air, they're easy to get off. Now remember, anti-clockwise is off on most vehicles. If in doubt, check the owner's manual. There we go, now we've got them loose. So it's your turn to copy that. Then consult your owner's manual using the jack that came with your car. It's time to get her up in the air. So in a few minutes we'll see you again as we get into looking at what's underneath. Well, now that we've got the truck up in the air, safely on jack stands with good solid bases underneath, always safety first, we can take a look at what's going on in our front end. We can see the bushings are in good shape, shock absorbers look almost like new, no broken springs, and looking in here, we can see the ball joints are in good condition and they've probably been really well maintained. The brake rotors themselves are smooth. And as we look in here, we can see that there's lots of brake pad. Now the way a disc brake works, which is what most cars have on the front end nowadays that you're going to run into and all of the new ones, are disc brakes. The disc is this piece here that carries the wheel and spins. When you put on the brakes, the two hydraulic pistons here push together, grabbing the disc and stopping the car. The key to this and the key to long life is that you keep up with the brake pads. We'll take a closer look in a second. But you can see the brake rotor is nice and smooth on both sides, which is a good thing. There's no leaks anywhere on the brake caliper, which is a wonderful thing. A little bit of garbage got caught in this. And there's no other visible problems other than a little bit of dust and dirt that should be there. Now I'd like to give you a real close look at the brake pads because this is important. Now here's what I'm talking about. This is the brake caliper. Inside are the brake pads. And you can see the pad backing is a piece of steel, usually about 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and then there's the pad. And we can see here these pads are about 3/8 of an inch thick here and about 3/8 of an inch thick here. So they're in good condition. If they get too much lower than that, it's time to change them. The other thing to bear in mind is if you haven't done this kind of work before or you're just not comfortable doing it, take it to a good shop and have a mechanical inspection done and get a report. But for real builds, we want to teach you a little bit as we go and make sure you're doing it safely. So those are our front brakes and what we're looking for in the front suspension when we're doing a quick inspection of our own. Now the back brakes are a little different. On older vehicles like this one, As a matter of fact, right up until you get into the late 90s and early 2000s, drum brakes on the back of a car were really, really common. In the 60s, they were really common on the front. And they work sort of the same as a disc brake. You have the big drum, which carries the wheels and it spins. And inside there's a set of shoes that push out to grab the drum to bring it to a stop. Now we need to get the brake drum off, and sometimes they can be a bit of a bear. So we're going to take our handy hammer to loosen her up a little bit and have a look at our back brakes. Much like the front end, take a look inside at the brake surface. We can see this one's nice and smooth and working well. And on the inside we can see the brake shoes are getting down. We're going to be changing these when we get a little farther into the project. But the important thing is we haven't let them get too low, and they're still safe for a short time yet. But again, if you're not comfortable doing this kind of work, you really do need to take it to a shop and have a professional examine it for your own comfort. Somebody like me and a lot of the guys out there that have worked on cars, we're comfortable doing this. We've done it many, many times. And you got to start someplace. But the key is, if in doubt, consult a professional or somebody you know who's really up on the kind of work you're doing. Now, in the back, we have a big old leaf spring that carries the rear suspension. Even pickup trucks are getting away from this now, but this 1984 Ford has a big set of leaves. We can see they're well attached. The bushings at either end are in good condition. The shock absorber is fine, as is the one on the other side. We can see the differential, and there's no leaks around it at all, which means it's ready to rock and roll, something we don't have to worry about. The frame itself, we can look front to back while it's up like this and check for any rust or major problems, which we did, and right now there aren't any. Beyond that, the exhaust is getting tired, but it's still safe and sound, so it'll hold us for the time being while we figure out what we're doing with engine, transmission, and other modifications. So we're going to take our brake drum, throw her back on, get the wheels and tires back on, drop her down, and do the other side. And so should you, so that you know both sides are in good condition. We'll talk to you in a little bit after we check the other side, and we've shown you how to do just that. Thanks again at Real Builds. We'll be back in a bit. Now the back brakes are a little different. On older vehicles like this one, as a matter of fact, right up until you get into the late 90s and early 2000s, drum brakes on the back of a car were really, really common. In the 60s, they were really common on the front. And they work sort of the same as a disc brake. You have the big drum, which carries the wheels and it spins. And inside there's a set of shoes that push out to grab the drum to bring it to a stop. Now we need to get the brake drum off, and sometimes they can be a bit of a bear. So we're going to take our handy hammer to loosen her up a little bit and have a look at our back brakes. Much like the front end, take a look inside at the brake surface. We can see this one's nice and smooth and working well. And on the inside we can see the brake shoes are getting down. We're going to be changing these when we get a little farther into the project. But the important thing is we haven't let them get too low, and they're still safe for a short time yet. But again, if you're not comfortable doing this kind of work, you really do need to take it to a shop and have a professional examine it for your own comfort. Somebody like me and a lot of the guys out there that have worked on cars, we're comfortable doing this. We've done it many, many times, and you got to start someplace. But the key is, if in doubt, consult a professional or somebody you know who's really up on the kind of work you're doing. Now, in the back, we have a big old leaf spring that carries the rear suspension. Even pickup trucks are getting away from this now, but this 1984 Ford has a big set of leaves. We can see they're well attached. The bushings at either end are in good condition. The shock absorber is fine, as is the one on the other side. we can see the differential and there's no leaks around it at all, which means it's ready to rock and roll, something we don't have to worry about. The frame itself, we can look front to back while it's up like this and check for any rust or major problems, which we did, and right now there aren't any. Beyond that, the exhaust is getting tired, but it's still safe and sound, so it'll hold us for the time being while we figure out what we're doing with engine, transmission, and other modifications. So we're going to take our brake drum, throw her back on, get the wheels and tires back on, drop her down, and do the other side. And so should you, so that you know both sides are in good condition. We'll talk to you in a little bit after we check the other side, and we've shown you how to do just that. Thanks again at Real Builds. We'll be back in a bit. Just before we move on from this side of the truck, it comes to my attention that there's a lot of people who don't know how to change a tire, or very rarely have. And if you're one of those, now's the time to learn. You've seen how we get them off, you followed the instructions in the owner's manual to get it up, but when it comes time to tightening, it's really important. So if you have a mentor who can help you and show you how to change a tire, that's always best. Otherwise, do like we do, follow the directions in the owner's manual, and when you're tightening them up, you do it in an even pattern. So we'll go here, then to here, then to here, then to here, and then to here. We'll do it in 2 stages so that we tighten them evenly. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And then one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one. Now you want to get these really good and tight, and that means throwing your weight into it. Now we don't want to see anybody ever get hurt from loosening a wheel or losing a wheel when you're driving. So for heaven's sakes, make sure they're good and tight. If you have a torque wrench, I don't, you can torque them onto the manufacturer spec. Otherwise, make sure they're good and tight. And if you're not sure, as always, seek out a professional or somebody you know who's done it before to help you out. Now we'll move on to the other side. Actually, you're going to move on to the other side while we get ready to do some more work. Thanks a lot from Real. Well, we've been through the truck. We've been over the body, polished it, cleaned it, so we know where we stand with it. We've been under the hood. We've looked at the engine, know it's got to be cleaned up under there, and we've taken it out, driven it, to make sure we understand that there's no drivability issues of consequence. We've also had the front wheels off, the back wheels off, we've checked the brakes and suspension, know where we stand there, and we've been under the chassis to see how things are there. So the only thing left now is the interior. We've got to get all the junk out and give it a good cleaning. Because like the body, you don't really know where you're at until you've done the job of getting it good and clean. So while we empty out the junk and get ready, we're going to give you a chance to do the same at home. We'll be back shortly with Real Builds. Well, here's a few tips as we're getting started. Got our bucket of hot soapy water, our bristle brush goes in, and a good rag goes in to do the scrubbing and cleaning. Might as well get ready your hats and your jackets and just make life a little easier as we go along. And I like to start with the doors and carry on from there. So we get a nice damp rag, lots of soap on it. We start by giving her a scrub. Now once we've got it well soaked up, and we've got all the edges, including the door jambs, the panels, the lower sections, and even the door jambs on the truck itself. Chuck her back in, get out your bristle brush. And you don't have to use lots of pressure. Let the brush do the work. By just sliding over it with a little bit of pressure, it's going to pull all the dirt out of the creases and designs in the plastic. Another quick wipe. Keep that dirt loose and off. Twist out your rag. And kind of damp dry it. Getting rid of the soap bubbles as much as you can. The window a little wipe. All the trim, brackets. We want this puppy clean so we know what we got. If there's panels we're going to need to repaint, or anything else that's going to need refinished, and then take our extra rag and give it a quick dry. Now you can already see the improvement on the inside of this door panel. It doesn't look beat up anymore. Door jambs are looking a lot better. Lower door panels. We've got the rust, the dirt incrustations out. Give the windows a little wipe. And we'll move on to the next panel. You do the same thing with the floor, and we'll skip ahead a little bit and give you an example. In this case with the floor, we've got a rubber mat, not carpet. So we're going to start with our brush. Because it gets right in there and gets rid of all the dirt that's built up. Now we'll do the actual rubber carpet, rubber mat. A quick wipe with our rag. Which is going to make it much cleaner than if we had just done it with the rag or the brush by themselves. Again, a real quick dry off, and we'll move to the next section. And you can too, while we keep cleaning with the boring stuff, and we'll let you know when there's another good tip to have. Okay, now that we have the truck cleaned out of all the junk, including the glove box and the ashtray, now we got to start getting it clean. And what do we need to do that? Well, a shop vac or another vacuum cleaner, bucket of warm soapy water, just a dish soap, nice mild soap, whole bunch of clean rags, and a medium bristle brush to get into those small areas. We're going to start with a quick vacuum. Then we're going to go to scrubbing everything down with the soap and water, dry it off, and then we'll move to the next step. Right now, you can do the same because I'm sure you know how to wash just as well as I do. Talk to you shortly with Real Builds. So we've done our washing, we've done our scrubbing, we've dried it off, we've given it a quick coat of our favorite preservative. Let's look at what we really have now. Look at the interior. Clean, shiny. I'll bet your wife or girlfriend would even get in this truck now. Behind the seat and the glove box look the same, as do the door panels. And she's looking quite good all the way around. When you think of it, for a total investment so far of about $20, we've changed this truck completely. So let's take a second to think of what we've done, pat ourselves in the back, and then we'll take an overview of the truck and look at what we've spent so far. We'll be right back at Real Builds. Well folks, that's what one weekend's work looks like. That dramatic change in this truck happened over one weekend of basically just figuring out what we have. The paint's a lot better, chrome looks good, we know the problems on the body, we know what we need to do in the engine bay and what we need to do with the engine and driveline. The wheels look a lot better, and they're going to look even better still after we finish with them. The tires we still have to work on. There's a lot of work to do, but in just 2 days, look at what we've managed to accomplish outside in the backyard. It's a different truck any way you look at it. Even this side that has the rust over the rear wheel looks dramatically better. It's a much, much nicer truck. I'll be driving this to work Monday morning, and you know what? I'll be proud that I am, because I'm doing all the work myself on a really tight budget. And let's talk about that budget. All of the work that we accomplished this weekend, including making the interior look as good as it does, we did for about 20 bucks. That's right, about $20 in our own work. The polish, 2 levels, 1 heavy duty to rub out 1 rubbing compound to bring it up, plus a little bit of protectorant, some old rags, squirt of dish soap, and a bunch of hard work. But look at the difference. Now we're in a position where we can go back to the house and work out a plan of where we want to take this project vehicle. And you can do the same with yours. So until next week, we'll see you on Real Builds.